Welcome back to @Globalpulsenewz, Panoku Malawi and beyond. Imagine this. A dignitary from Scotland touches down in the Lilongwe, the president of Malawi steps out of the formal office, and the press cameras go wild. What do you get? A diplomatic remix that could change the song from Malawi's future. Today we're digging into a courtesy visit that might be more than just handshake and photo op. It's about cooperation, strategy, youth, change, and yes, even a little political theater. So sit back, subscribe if you haven't yet, switch on those notifications, and let's roll into this story with energy, clarity, and some Malawian flair. Ready? Let's go. Let's set the stage. The First Minister of Scotland, John Swinney, made a courtesy visit to Malawi, right here in Lilongwe, meeting President Peter Mutharika. Zimenezo zinali unexpected for many. Scotland isn't just whiskey and kilts, they're showing up on Malawian soil with seriousness. When a European government leader arrives in Malawi, you know something bigger than politics is brewing. Mutharika and Swinney shook hands, posed for photos, and greeted the press. But here's the twist. The visit wasn't simply ceremonial, it was to mark 20 years of cooperation between Scotland and Malawi. That's right, 2 decades of links, and now it's being elevated. Malawi is signaling we're open for deeper partnership. Scotland is signaling we've got eyes on Malawi. For Malawi citizens, this matters. It says, yes, international players still care, but also we expect results, not just ribbons. The optics of the event are powerful. The arrival, the media, the diplomatic protocol, but the underlying message is that Malawi is no longer in the background, it's in the frame. But the handshake is just the opener. Let's dive into what President Mutharika actually said during his speech, because words matter. Here we go. President Mutharika took to the podium. In his speech, he referenced the long-standing partnership, reaffirmed Malawi's commitment to cooperation, and made clear that Malawi wants mutual benefit, not charity. According to reports, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs noted the meeting with Swinney emphasized cooperation in health, education, and climate change, among other sectors. In Chichewa, we might say, Lisungu likurandira, como si zinco dzonse nimfatso, tieneranchito. He made the point that Malawi doesn't just want support, it wants sustainable development. The analogy might be this: if international aid was once like a candy handed out, now the model is more like a recipe swap. Scotland brings the ingredients, Malawi cooks the dish, both sit down and eat. He also reaffirmed youth inclusion, the creative economy, and infrastructure development. You could almost feel the energy shift, as if the microphone wasn't just for speech but for commitment. The crowd stirred, the press leaned in. It wasn't just nice words, it was staged for action. But what's Scotland bringing to the table? That's our next stop. Let's flip the coin. What is Scotland doing here? John Swinney arrived representing the Scottish government, and the visiting press noted that this visit marks significant progress in Malawi-Scotland ties. They're pledging to deepen support in health, education, and climate resilience. It's more than goodwill, it's strategic. Imagine a DJ returning to remix a classic track. They know the original beat, but they're adding a fresh drop. Scotland knows its Malawi links, from missions of the past to the current Scotland-Malawi partnership. So this visit is about reinforcing those foundations and perhaps building new ones. The Scottish interest, global development, international cooperation, goodwill, but also perhaps influence and alignment with Malawi's growth. For Malawi, this could mean new resources, new projects, fresh eyes on its institutional systems. The interplay is delicate. Scotland can bring expertise, funding, frameworks, but Malawi must bring ownership, readiness, and grit. So that's the who and the why. Now let's talk specifics. What deliverables were mentioned?
Here is where the rubber meets the road. President Mutharika stated that beyond ceremonies and media photos, the expectation is tangible results. The Facebook page of Malawi's Ministry of Foreign Affairs referenced the need for full benefit to be derived from the partnership. Malawi wants schools built, jobs created, infrastructure upgraded, climate resilience boosted. The analogy? Buying a new smartphone is fun, but if you don't have chargers, compatible apps, or internet, it just sits in your pocket. Same way, agreements are great, but implementation is key. Scotland's side appears ready. The visit emphasized cooperation in education and health. For Malawians, this could mean new scholarships, improved hospitals, cleaner water, climate-adaptive systems. The thing to watch? Will funding be followed by action? Will the mechanisms be in place? Will local communities feel the change? In other words, it's one thing to sign the contract, it's another to see the building go up. Malawi wants the building up. Scotland's offering the architect, but both need the labor. That's the test. Of course, the path isn't without obstacles. Let's jump into the challenges. Let's not sugarcoat it. Big partnerships are messy. President Mutharika himself acknowledged the institutional capacity issues, the need for systems that can absorb support effectively. In Chichewa, tili ndizivuta zambiri, mapulogrammu, machitidwe, ntawi. Potential problems: corruption, mismatched expectations, dependency, infrastructure deficits, governance weaknesses. The analogy? Upgrading your car's engine is fine, but if the road's full of potholes, you're still stuck. Malawi must show that it can manage the resources, account for them, deliver outcomes. Scotland must ensure its support doesn't create dependency or bypass local agency. They must ensure value for money. Both sides must manage public expectations. If people expect immediate miracles, they'll be disappointed. For youth and creatives, this matters. If the promise is jobs and the delivery is delayed, disillusionment could set in. If the promises are vague, cynicism grows. So the stakes are high. This visit isn't just about optics, it's about credibility. The future of partnerships may hinge on how this one plays out. Now let's switch the lens. What does this mean for everyday Malawians? Here's the heart of the matter. For the citizen on the street from Lilongwe to Karonga, what does this partnership bring? President Mutharika emphasized youth inclusion, creative economy, national development. In practice, if executed, this means more training opportunities, better health services, perhaps new industries tied to creativity, climate resilience programs for rural communities. The analogy? Think of Malawi as a stage where earlier the spotlight was dim, now the floodlights are turning on. Youth especially should pay attention. Creativity, entrepreneurship, and education are getting a highlighted mention. The promise: we are listening. The risk: only promise, no delivery. But if delivered, this could shift the narrative. Malawian talent being showcased, not overlooked. Job creation, not just lip service. Empowerment, not just pity. Malawi has potential, natural resources, youthful population, creative energy. The Scotland-Malawi link could unlock some of that. For everyday citizens, the expectation: real change. The hope: tangible, accountable, measurable. This matters. And finally, why does this matter in the big picture? What's the symbolism and future outlook? Let's wrap it up. This isn't just a visit, it's a signal. Scotland showing up to Malawi, Malawi preparing for deeper ties, both nations underlining cooperation. Let's zoom out. The symbolism is powerful. According to Scottish Communication, this visit marks 20 years of Malawi-Scotland cooperation. In Chichewa, Team Mapunzira Kuchoka Kumbiri, Kama Tikulambikira Msogolo. For Malawi, it means international recognition, partnering on global challenges, stepping up as a credible partner. For Scotland, it means respecting and reinforcing decades of link, taking responsibility. The analogy: if nations were orchestras, Malawi is picking up its instrument, Scotland is the conductor, but now the piece is collaborative and Malawi is taking a solo. Future outlook: if the partnership works, we may see other nations replicate the model. We may see Malawi's voice stronger in international forums. We may see creative economy bloom. On the flip side, if the project stutters, the risk is reputational loss, youth disenchantment, wasted resources. So this visit is more than a photo op, it's a statement. Malawi matters, partnerships matter, delivery matters, the world is watching, and Malawi's next steps will echo beyond its borders. All right, we've unpacked the who, the what, the why, the risks, the people, the future. Let's wrap this up with what you should do next. All right, Global Pulse News fam, there you have it. Scotland's First Minister meets Malawi's President, cooperation renewed, hopes raised, challenges clear. If you found this breakdown useful, smash that like button, share with someone who thought diplomacy was boring. Hint, they just hadn't seen this, and subscribe if you aren't already so you don't miss our next bold global news breakdown with Malawian flavor. Remember to comment below, which area do you want this Malawi-Scotland partnership to focus on first? Education, health, climate, or youth jobs? Until next time, stay informed, stay bold, and remember, the handshake isn't the end, it's the beginning of the next move. Peace out.